I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
And it's Thursday. You know what that means? It's time for us to have another Throwback Thursday. And we're gonna go back in time, throw up that celebration, because Heart of the Stories we tell, and me, Rob the host, is going to take us back to a quick nostalgic look and see how a story was that might be a little bit on the older side. So celebrate your week almost being over as we look at the vehicles of the 80s. I mean, all you need to do is take a look at this one picture and realize how badass there were of vehicles. I don't even think we need to do this because it's not really a spoiler, and we're not going to be talking about setting or plot or point of view, maybe a little bit of theme and symbolism, but mostly we're talking about a type of character, the character that is a car. Personification doesn't just happen with vehicles, but it happens so often. The DeLorean from Back to the Future just erodes character. It just creates an entire concept. Everything about it informs the decision. Even the General Lee back from Dukes of Hazzard. It creates a whole feeling of the hillbilly nostalgia for that part. And back in the 80s, we also had Knight Rider. And I mean, they even tried to reboot that, and it just doesn't work as well anymore. But they had Viper that was a kinda, sorta spiritual successor to it. And let's be honest, just look at the Mystery Machine. That's me and my nephew hanging out outside it at Universal Studios. These vehicles meant more than just a way to get from A to B. You felt for them. When they got damaged, you cringed. When they were in an accident, you worried as much about the vehicle. And I mean, in the case of Kit, the vehicle was a character. But most of the time they weren't. Ecto-1 barely gets any screen time in the Ghostbuster movie. The Mystery Machine is really just a mode of transportation. But just seeing them shows you exactly what those are, and can inform the show itself. There was another Ghostbusters cartoon that had a distinct vehicle too. However, let's be honest, if we're talking about distinctive vehicles, the one that informs the most change over all the years is the one that probably created this concept itself. Batman has a car, and what type of car does he have? Well, that depends on which Batman it is. Maybe it's a hot rod, or maybe it's a tank that can jump a bridge. Who really cares, though? At the end of the day, these vehicles all stand out. Even the ones that were made based on a stock model are ones that have been given character. And of course, some of them are just pure concept cars that are ridiculous. And sometimes that ridiculousness is half the fun. While I was researching this, I even remembered an old Bigfoot cartoon from the 80s. And I sit there and I go, these are shows that I would never actually do a full video on. Well, maybe Knight Rider or Dukes of Hazzard I could do a full video on. Scooby-Doo I could do 100 videos on. But at the end of the day, what made the 80s, even the 90s to a certain extent, so car crazy? I'm not even a car guy. And yet, when I look back, I see these vehicles and they just sing to me. And then I remembered things like the Transformers, or, more importantly, Mask. I mean, Mask could pretty much be summed up by, what if we put G.I. Joe guys in the Transformers? But, at the same time, these vehicles that became militarized were so awesome. They made us sit there and look, and even now, if you're a child of the 80s and you knew what Mask was, just looking at that Rhino makes you sit there and say, oh, I remember that. In fact, let me ask you this. If I did an actual Throwback Thursday review of one of these shows, would you think that the role of the car would get a character entry, or part of the plot or theme and symbolism? Of all of them, the ones that I would most likely do would be the Dukes of Hazzard and Knight Rider. They were two of my favorite, and they're two that I have the most amount of stuff for. Of course, I'm a little afraid of doing Dukes of Hazzard because one of those symbols is the Confederate flag, and that's not exactly popular. Let me know down in the comment section, and perhaps by the end of September I will put something together for that. For now, I just wanted to open up the discussion. What do you think about vehicles? Are vehicles characters? And if so, are those vehicles important enough to get a full mention as a character? Also, let me know why it is you think that it's primarily older stories that do this. I can't think of any story in the last 5 years that I would say had as distinctive a vehicle unless it was a remake. And now not all of them have character. As much as the A-Team van or the car from Magnum PI are distinctive, I would draw a difference there. Yeah, I think this is going to need some revisiting. But let me know down in the comments what you think. But especially if you liked this idea of more of a questioning instead of an answering video, hit that like and share button, because I'd like to see what you guys think. And of course, if you haven't already, hit subscribe. I do Throwback Thursdays every Thursday, along with theory videos that normally have more answers than questions in them every Sunday. And for the month of September, I'm doing a whole thing about pacing and how we build our stories and the speed they're told at. And come October, it's going to be Halloween month. So alright, I hope you have a good night, and thank you for walking with me through the heart of the stories we tell.